undisputed, no mistakes are playing big. In the end, you'll all marvel like it's.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Mike and Ike Show. I'm Mike.
And I'm Mike. Welcome to Week 5 of the XCFL.
Gentlemen, we have officially reached the quarter point of the XCFL season.
Right, you are, Ike, and by the time this is heard, we'll be a little bit past that point, actually. It's been an exciting start to another season, that's for sure. Right off the bat, let's bring in Al to discuss his weekly picks. Welcome, Al.
Thanks, fellas. Glad to be back on the podcast. A lot has gone down in 2 weeks around the XCFL, some good, some bad, which leads me to a shout out to our commissioner, Jim, who week in and week out handles league business with a level head. So please take the time to tell him thank you. Also, give it up for his staff that handle the daily operations when Jim is absent. And to you guys, Mike and Ike, for providing us with this podcast every week. Thanks, guys.
All right, Al. So checking it out, you changed your format this week, so you could have more of a discussion on the podcast, and we always love having you on. So just so everyone knows, you can see these predictions for this week's games on the XCFL forum visually. But let's just get started with the first matchup and discuss them on here. Chicago versus Green Bay. Does your team get their first win this week?
Yes, I did change it up. Hope you guys like it. I figured I'd talk more than give it all away in the posted picks. As far as my Bears, I've had a tough go so far this season. 0-6, didn't expect that. But it's not really a shocker. You know, the team is what it is. They're young, and it's just a matter of time to build them up. And when I pick these games, I pick which team I think is the best. Not much the owners who use them. Until I get to know the owners more, these games play. As they play these games, then it might be different, but I doubt it.
Alrighty, Al, thank you. I think some people you've picked up against a few times, and they're like, we want to prove them wrong. So that just brings in the competition, and we love that here in the XCFL. So we're glad you do that. Let's see. I think Green Bay is going to have this one. I think that the Bears are a team that long term, I know that you'll stick with it and you'll add the pieces that you want to, and that's what will make that a better team. So I wouldn't sleep on them. They're going to get their wins, but Green Bay is going to be a tough one. Next up, we have the Broncos versus the Texans. Who do you have as the winner?
In this one, I have the Broncos. I think they might just upset them this time and take Houston down a notch. Houston's been playing very well. They got a very good team. They're trying to make some off-season trades. We'll see what happens, but I think Broncos take this one.
I'm actually going to agree with you here. Texans are coming off a tough loss to the undefeated Vikings, so I feel like their momentum's down a little bit, and I think they're going to struggle this week against a tough Broncos defense, just like they struggled against a tough Vikings defense. So I'm going Broncos here. So, speaking of the Vikings, let's move on to them. So far, they're undefeated. How are they going to fare versus the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think the Eagles are going to upset Minnesota this week. Minnesota's riding high, and they're going to take an unexpected loss to the Eagles. I think the Eagles are starting to figure things out. They got a decent team, and I'm going to go Eagles here.
Wow, you heard it here, folks. First we had Julio Jones on the block, and now we've got the Eagles upsetting Minnesota Vikings. We are breaking news here. I'm going to disagree with you here, though. Minnesota Vikings, man, that team's good. Man, I think they're going to go a long, long ways. They are going to. I think you're right, though. There's going to be a win, or there's going to be a loss for Minnesota that's going to come out of the blue, and this may be that week, but I don't think so. Next, we have Patriots with a tough matchup versus the Steelers. Do the Patriots get their first sack of the season against Big Ben?
Quite a possibility, but I doubt it. Steelers are tough. Steel City. I think they could overtake the Patriots. Jim's been handling that team fairly well. We'll see what happens, but you got to go Steelers. You got Big Ben and the big threats.
Well, again, I'm going to agree with you for a couple of reasons. One, the Patriots just so happen to be in the Buffalo Bills division, so I'm all about them losing. And two, lately the Patriots have been really struggling on defense. they've allowed tons and tons of points. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would bet they're in the bottom 5 on points allowed. So they allow a lot of points. And whenever you're facing an offense like that, I expect a very hefty points total from the Steelers. So I'm giving it Steelers 120%. Moving on, the Seattle Seahawks. All right, so they've been a tough team last several years in Madden, and this season's really no exception. So do they have an easy win this week, or how are they going to fare against the Cardinals?
Seahawks, Cardinals. This one, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Cardinals are at home. Jimmy Dog's coming off a win. And I think the Seahawks are going to get caught slipping in this one.
Interesting. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go Seahawks here. I think the game is going to be close. I'm going to say, I don't think we've given a score prediction yet. I'm going to say Seahawks win good old 21-17. So it's going to be very close, and I think they're going to win in the end. All right, let's see. Next we have Mike's Bills from the podcast taking on the Dolphins. Who wins that matchup?
I think Mike's Bills will take this one. A lot of controversy with the Dolphins so far early into this XCFL season. They're now a user team. I think Mike's going to hand them a nice big fat loss this week.
Well, I certainly hope so. Prediction-wise, I've kind of watched them a little bit. They've gone through coaches left and right this season, and I just feel like it should be an easy win for my Bills, but you never can take CPU teams for granted, especially when you look at what has happened to Boone and against the Browns. You never can take it for granted. Sometimes that CPU will just do crazy things against you. So I'm predicting a win for my Bills, but I hate CPU games almost more than I hate more than I hate user games. So, all right, speaking of Boone, and what looks like could be a blowout loss for the Titans. Titans versus Colts. Who do you think comes out on top in that one?
I think Boone's going to seek revenge in Week 7. He's at home against the Colts. Colts are a good team. I played them earlier in the season. We had a pretty good game. I just think Boone's going to find his stride with his buddy Mariota and finally get him throwing over 300 yards. And I think the Titans take this one at home.
Poor Boone. You know, we like him on the podcast. We like giving him some crap. And that game was kind of cheap today against the computer. But it is fun sometimes to watch him fail. So, you know, he can throw the ball great, but as Mike was suggesting, if he could run that ball, I think that would help him. Against the Colts, he's going to have to run the ball. And if he wants to win, I think he's going to have to run the ball. And if he does, I think right here we're going to call victory. The Browns are awful, but they can beat the Tennessee Titans. Just saying, Boone. Do they have a chance versus the Bengals?
The Battle of the Browns here, or Battle of the Oranges, technically. I think Cincinnati is going to take this one. Infamous Fridge, he's hit or miss, and Immaculate One has a great team in the Bengals. I think he's going to take down the Browns this week. Browns still finding their way, I guess.
Well, I've agreed with you every time, so just for the sake of disagreeing, I'm going to pull out here and say that the Browns are going to pull the upset. I believe they are 3-3 now.
They are.
So I would like to see a Browns win, and I think everybody in the league would be surprised if the Browns had a record above 500. So I more want the Browns to win just because I think it would be a fun storyline for the Browns to actually be an above 500 team. So I'm pulling for the Browns. That's my prediction. All right, moving on to the Redskins. We actually have a Redskins owner finally after our wonderful Jack had to leave us. So, does the Redskins owner get his first W versus the Lions?
This one's a battle of two new owners. You got Dave Moore and Multimania. Lions are at home. Redskins are still struggling to find their way. They're really missing Jack. I got the Lions at home in this one. Pretty simple.
Great. This is a hard one. I can't believe you predicted this one. I don't even know where to go on here. I just feel like that Redskins team, man. I know Jack did a lot of things with that team, but it is a good team. And I feel like overall that team could be better than the Lions team. So since I don't know either owner, Nothing against either one of you because I have no clue how you play. I'm going to go Redskins just based on the team. Next, we have the Bucs have to travel to California. Who gets the victory, Tampa or San Francisco?
I'm picking San Francisco since they're at home. It's always hard to travel west. It's a late game, so the Bucs might have a chance. AV23 and hella Chinese in this one. San Francisco might surprise the Bucs. That's why I predicted them to win at home.
Well, I'm gonna swing back to the other side of the fence and agree with you here. My Bills just played San Francisco, and although we won, this game was far closer than that score even looked. A couple turnovers really kind of put him in a bad way, and if you ever talk to the San Francisco coach, I believe I pinned him on the 1 yard line, on the 2 yard line, and on the 4 yard line. So he got terrible field position and turnovers were his demise. Other than that, I think he's a wonderful coach, great owner. I think he's going to pull out the victory here. So let's stay over there on that side of the world. Look at the Chargers. They have not been good. So, do the Falcons have a blowout win here, or could it be a game?
I think it's a blowout win. It's at home. Chargers are traveling east. It's a late game. They do have a shot. This is a non-user owner team. It's a CPU team. Benny the Great, he's got a good team with the Falcons, and I think this might be my blowout pick of the week here.
I would agree. I think the Falcons are going to win this one easy. Supposedly the Rams are trying to ship out Todd Gurley. I don't know if you guys have heard that. They're probably going to have him with this game, though. So do they get the win, and do they regret getting rid of Gurley if he's successful against the Giants?
I think the Rams win. I think they win because they have Gurley. Not sure why they're shopping Gurley around, but that's none of my business. I think if they lose Gurley, they lose a big part of the offense. But, I got the Rams in this one over the Giants at home.
I'm going to agree there. The Giants have been fairly sporadic in terms of whether or not the users have been playing games, and I think the Rams have the win here pretty easily. So let's look over here. The Raiders, they just lost a nail-biter to the Chiefs last week in overtime. So, by all accounts, it was their first game of the XCFL, so, it was an impressive start for them. So, do they beat the Jaguars this week, or do they get another L?
I predict the Raiders will take this one. They got a bit of a taste of what it's like to come up close, but not close enough. The Jaguars, if I believe, are still undefeated. I know they took me down last week in a close one. Rapid Joey's a great player. Not too familiar with the NC2ATL87, I believe, is the user on that one. But Oakland, I think, might surprise them. Oakland has a good team. They have a good running game. They have a good wide receiver core. They have a great defense. And I think they find their way and they upset the Jags at home.
Well, I have a little experience with both these guys, and Dave Leone is a great owner with the Jaguars, and the Raiders' new owner is excellent. Played an excellent game against me, had awesome defense. If you didn't know, I won that in overtime. The Chiefs won that in overtime off of a wildcat because I had to trick him to try to get into the end zone, and it worked. But
yeah, he's got a great goal line defense.
He's good, man. He's very good. So I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think it's an upset. I think the Jaguars is a very good team, but that Raiders team, man, I was sweating that game. Next, we have Jets versus Ravens. Who you got, Al?
I'm going to pick my Jets, my son's team, to take their first win. He might get his first win before his papa does. But I got them beaten. Who are they playing? Ravens? Yeah, I got them beating the Ravens in this one. Ravens have played strong all season. They've been out of the fold for about a week and a half now. He's back home, but I think the Jets take this one at home, and they surprise some folks this week.
Well, I don't think it's much of a surprise, but I agree with the Jets getting their first win. It seems like every game the Jets have played so far has been close. Just came down to a few small plays that have just turned the tide and caused the L. So I feel like the Jets are going to pull out that win. So let's look at the last prediction. We got the New Orleans Saints versus the Chiefs. How does this game shake out?
In honor of my earlier note to you guys and doing the podcast this week, I'm taking the Chiefs over the Saints. I believe, Ike, you're a Saints fan in real life, so I think you know how this team plays. I think you're going to get the win this week. You're at home. You're playing Soapy 412. Don't know much about him or his game, but the Chiefs are going to take this one at home.
Thank you. I think this is going to be a close game. I think me and Soap are going to have a really good game. I will let people know, if you did not know, that Nick Fairley and Kenny Vaccaro has come to the Chiefs, and Poe has gone to the Saints. So that will be interesting how the defensive line plays out. If one
Revenge
team,
game.
if one team runs over the other one, we may be regretting that trade. So, that's an interesting storyline. Thanks again, Al, for coming in and giving your predictions. Make sure you hit up Mike and Ike or Richard Dickerson, a.k.a. Al, on Twitter and mouth off and tell us off for picking against you. And, you proved us wrong because you won and you weren't supposed to. But thanks for coming in, Al.
Appreciate it. It's always fun to be on here with you guys. I look forward to doing this more often, get some guys involved, talk some more about these games, and make the XCFL what we all know it should be, the greatest league in Madden history.
Good suggestion, Ike. I brought in Nick, also known as the good old Black and Gold, in the XCFL Fantasy League. He's here to join us in our chat today. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, guys. What's going on?
What's up, Nick? We asked you this question last time you were here a couple weeks ago about fantasy. Let's see if your opinion's changed. Regardless of the current record, who do you think has the best team in fantasy as of right now?
I mean, I got to go with the team who's hot. I think, not to be biased at all, but I do think I have the best team. I think it's led by the best core receivers, Jordy Nelson, A.J. Green, Mike Evans, Sterling Shepard. Running back game isn't the best, but I'm going to ride the hot team right now, and I'm on a 4-game streak.
I don't know. I can't really argue with you there. I was trying to look and try to see if there's anybody else that I could imagine being a better team at the moment, and unfortunately, as much as I try, I think you're right there. I think you got the best team right now going in. Everyone's performing well, and they're consistent, which is the biggest thing in fantasy. It's what some teams struggle with. No names mentioned. Consistency. But let's dive right into the matchups this week. First up, we have the Chalupa Batmans versus You Mad Bro. Who takes the win this week?
I'm looking at it right now. I think that, honestly, I hate to say it, Brian, I think Chalupa Batman's got you this week. I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to eat against Miami. Theo Riddick had a nice game. I saw that they just signed Forsett this week. But I still think Riddick's going to have a good game. Calvin Benjamin, we'll see what he can do. He's boom or bust. Amari Cooper, obviously Rob Gronkowski. I think this week, Batman got it.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that Jim with the Chalupa Batman's got this. My team probably adjust a little bit here and get a few players in there like Russell Wilson and Jimmy Graham. We'll have to see what Jim does about his defense. Vikings been helping him out a lot, and they're on bye this week, so we'll have to see what defense he picks up and how that affects. The other positive for my team is Big Ben. A lot of his points are going to come from good old Antonio Brown, and guess who's got Antonio Brown? So hopefully those two kind of neglect each other a little bit, and Big Ben gets his numbers, Antonio Brown gets his numbers. So neglecting that, I might have a chance, but I'm guessing he's going to win this one. Let's see. Next up, we got the replacement players versus your team, Nick, Black and Gold. Does your team get the 5th victory in a row?
I said last time I was on the show that I thought the replacement players had the best team. So I do like his team a lot. I obviously like Carson Wentz. David Johnson, he had 40+ points last week. Martellus Bennett just coming off a 3-touchdown game. But I wouldn't have said that I thought my team was best for no reason. I think although the replacement players are really good, I think I got it this week.
Well, I agreed with you earlier about your team being the best overall team, but based on matchups this week, I feel like you're probably going to go down here. Derek Carr faces the Chiefs. That's a big division rivalry there, so I think Derek Carr is going to struggle. You're also playing, I think it's Dwayne Washington, I believe, the Raiders running back. And again, I think he's going to struggle mightily. So looking over at his roster, he's got a pretty, in my opinion, sweet matchup. Washington's very pass-friendly, so Carson Wentz should do okay. Kroll's been on a roll for the Browns. And I'm a big, big fan of Will Fuller for the Texans. I love that guy. I think he's technically behind DeAndre Hopkins, but I think overall he is the number one receiver in Texas right now, and I think he will be for a while. Scrolling down here, we have a great matchup, actually. Air V versus Al, who continues his lovely transition of changing his names to mess with all the opponents. How successful will he be this week?
I'm going to go with Air V here. LaShawn McCoy against San Francisco's leaky defense, one or two big runs. Dak Prescott, if he can continue to play the way that he has been. Obviously, you have Larry Fitz, who's been, having a good year. ODB, we'll see what happens with him, if he's going to be a little crybaby or actually show up this week. On the other hand, Candy J, he's probably going to change it to Air something, or like you said, change his name every week. Got a good team, has potential. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I got Air V.
Yeah, we could probably have a game on what would he change his name to. I'm thinking Air Z32. I don't know. But I agree with your estimate that Air V's got this one. I think his team overall is the better team. I feel like this is going to be a close game, though. We've got Andrew Luck, on Al's team, and you got Hopkins. I bet he bounces back. He's got the Bengals D. So I think this could be a close game, but I'm going to give it to Air V. Let's see. Next, we've got, I've got Benny the Great versus J Candy 13. Both teams are 3-2. Who's moving to 4-2?
Taking a quick look at it, I gotta go. John Candy. I don't know the running back situation in Chicago. I don't know what Langford's deal is, but I know Howard's been playing great in his absence. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. In my opinion, top 1 and 2 QB in the league. Him and Roethlisberger. So Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to have a good game. Edelman, with Brady being back, he can have 10 yards. He can have, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Who knows? But I'm gonna give it to Candy this week.
I'm gonna agree 120%. Only because I have Ryan Tannehill in the league and he has killed me. So unless Benny the Great throws Bortles up there, which he very well might, his quarterback situation sucks. His running back situation is pretty rough. He doesn't even have. He's got some on the bench, so he needs to move up. But just looking at his team, Golden Tate's been horrible. Really, the only thing he's got going for him is Todd Gurley, who's struggled quite a bit this year. So, and then looking over at Candy's team, Rodgers, Jordan Howard there for the Bears has been phenomenal so far, and Devontae Freeman could very easily blow up literally any given Sunday. So, next up, we move on to Gang Green versus the best team in the fantasy league, 0-5, easy breezy, my team. So, I'm hoping for my first W because right now my team has just flat out sucked. Injuries have killed me. But, Nick, what's going to happen?
As much as I'd love to say that Easy Breezy is going to get the first win this week, and it definitely is possible, I'm strictly taking a look at the running back situation here in Gang Green. Probably the best combination of running backs in the fantasy league this year. Le'Veon Bell and Ezekiel Elliott. What a 1-2 combo. I think that alone gets the job done.
Yeah, Elliott's been on fire, man, and Bell on there too. Bell's going against Miami, and Elliott's going against Green Bay. Easy Breezy, I think you're going to have a problem this week, and I don't know, it's going to be tough. You might have a shot, but I don't know, this might be a tough week for you to get that first W, so you might be going 0-6. Let's see, for our final game, we have Game of Throws versus Super Mariotas. Who gets the victory in this matchup?
Taking a look at it, it's really my first time looking at this matchup here. Just based on matchups alone, I'm going to go Game of Throws here. We have C.J. Anderson, Demarius Thomas against San Diego. Defense obviously isn't the best. Lamar Miller, I'm a big fan of him this year. He's a workhorse. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get 20, 30 points a game, but he gets plenty of touches. All it takes is one or two, big ones to put up some points. Allen Robinson at Chicago. Chicago's defense, very lackluster, and A-Rob's a great receiver. On the other side of things, he does have Tom Brady. Like I said, Tom Brady could have 4 or 5 touchdowns. I'd be curious to see if he keeps in Brady over Marcus Mariota, since his team name is Super Mariota. So I think if he was smart, he'd keep in Brady. We'll see what happens. I'm going to give it to Game of Throws.
I think Game of Throws takes this all day long. Heck, he's got Drew Brees on the bench, which I think I would switch that around. Brees is coming off a bye, playing Carolina, which may seem intimidating, but their secondary right now is really struggling. No one even knows the name of any of their corners, so I'd put Brees up there, and then that gives you matchup-wise, he dominates every single matchup, in my opinion. So Game of Throws takes this one, I feel, pretty easily. I don't think there's really any arguments against it. All right, well, looks like that's all for it. So thanks for coming in to discuss the fantasy, Nick. We will check back with you here in a few weeks, and we'll continue seeing how these teams are doing as we approach the midway point of the fantasy season.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Real quick before I go, the team is in a need of a wide receiver. There are some good ones out there on the waiver wire. Take a look at that. If you feel like your team's in a bad way, you have Jamison Crowder, obviously Eddie Royal, hit or miss, Jeremy Curley, hit or miss, Devontae Adams, hit or miss. But if, you're trying to mix things up, take a look at the waiver wire. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'll talk to you later.
I'll spit it out real quick before you mute us there. I mean, I'll throw Julio Jones out there on the block a little bit. One player is not going to win games for me, so I definitely need maybe a couple decent players for one good player, so build a little consistency. So just as a little tidbit there, check your rosters. If you got anything crazy, let me know.
Julio Jones on the block. Okay.
There you have it here. You got it here first that Julio Jones is up for grabs. So thanks, Nick, for coming in, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, guys. I'll catch you later.
Other leagues don't like us 'cause we are better than them. We have the best commissioner when his name's Jim. He don't get caught up in that cheese 'cause he's always watching you, and you should know. He even watches when you sleep, and if you want to join the XCFL, then brother, you had better keep it sim. In other leagues, they try to be like us, but brother, they just cannot keep it sim.